It all started during the dry season. The river that passed through the village of Umokiri has started acting strange. Fishermen started complaining of hearing voices in the water at night. Women said their calabashes refused to float. One night, Mama Ejima shouted from the riverbank, "Who is there?" Adeze first saw him near the market square. He stood tall, dark-skinned, his body strong like someone who walked in water. But what shocked her most was how clean he looked. No dust, no sweat. She passed by and greeted, "Good afternoon." He smiled, showing his teeth that were too white. "Good afternoon, my sister," he responded. "Are you new here?" she asked. "Yes, I came to start a new life, and my name is Obinna." "Where are you from?" she asked. He looked into her eyes and smiled again. "From across the great waters." She laughed. Which water? River Niger?" "Something like that," he said, voice soft like water flowing at midnight. As days passed, Adeze and Obinna began to talk more, trying to know each other the more. One evening, they sat under the mango tree, discussing. Then Adeze asked him, "Don't you have family?" "I lost my parents during a river accident," he said. "I am all alone." "What about brothers or uncles?" she added. He paused. "They scattered after the war. I don't talk about them, and I don't talk to them." Being so touched, she felt sorry for him. "You must have suffered." "I did," he replied, looking into the sky. "But meeting you, I'm feeling alive again." She didn't know he meant it in a different way. One evening, Adeze's uncle, Papa Mbakwe, saw Obinna by the river. The old man, with fear, limped home that night, sweating and whispering, because what he saw surprised him. "Adeze," he called. "That boy, Obinna, I saw him at the river this evening, but I didn't see his reflection in the water." Adeze and the other family members laughed at him and called it old man's imagination. But he swore, "I am sure of what I saw. I strongly believe that the young man is not a human being." Despite this, Obinna and Adeze became closer each day. He brought her gifts and strange fruits she had never seen. "This fruit, it glows and seems rare," she said and laughed. "Yes, it grows only near deep waters," he said. He would hold her hand, but his fingers were always cold, even under the hot sun. When she asked him, "Why are your hands always cold?" he smiled. "That is how I've always been," and she believed him. Another surprising thing was that even the dog in their compound never barked when he came around. It just whimpered. It was the beginning of the rainy season, and the nights grew colder. Obinna would go out every night, even when it rained heavily. Adeze began to notice the late movements and change in him. He would leave without saying a word, and sometimes, when she woke up, he was already back, with his skin cold and damp. One night, she asked him, "Where do you go every night, Obinna?" He hesitated before answering. I like to walk by the river. It calms my mind, and I have a lot of memories attached to the river." The way he said it, the way his eyes seemed to glow in the moonlight, amazed Adeze, and it made her uneasy. But she didn't say anything. She trusted him. One evening, as Adeze cooked dinner, she heard the sound of a child crying in the distance. But when she went outside to check, there was no one there. The cries continued, but this time she noticed it was coming from the river bank. She walked towards the river, her heart racing, but the closer she got, the louder the cries became, until it felt like they were right behind her. Suddenly, a dark figure stepped out from the shadows, blocking her way. It was Obinna. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice gentle, but his eyes were cold, almost like something was hidden beneath them. She stepped back. "I heard crying." Obinna frowned. "It's the river. It calls sometimes." One day, while gathering firewood with other women, Adeze overheard an old woman talking to Mama Neka. "You know, they say there are spirits in this river, old spirits who take human form and live among us." "What do you mean?" Mama Neka asked, intrigued. "Don't you know that they come from the depths? They walk like men, but they are not human. They are Mermen." Adese's ears perked up. She knew the village legends, the Manuku, the river gods who could shapeshift, live on land for years and return to the water to feed, but she had never believed it. But now, that night, the moon was full and Adeze couldn't sleep. The wind howled through the trees, and there was a strange smell in the air, like fish, but not quite. She lay in her bed, wide awake, listening to the sounds outside. she heard the flap again, like something wet slapping against the earth. Suddenly, she heard a soft voice whispering through the cracks in their door, Adeze. She froze. It was Obinna's voice, but it sounded strange, distant, almost like he was underwater. She jumped out of bed and rushed to the door, but it was locked. She could see a shadow moving outside the window, but there was something wrong about it. The shadow was shifting. The next day, Adeze decided to follow Obinna on her way to him. She had to know where he was going every night. She waited until the sun dipped behind the hills and the village grew silent. Then quietly, she followed him to the river. The sounds of the village disappeared as she crept closer to the water, and then she saw it. Obinna stood at the water's edge, his back to her, his clothes soaked. Something pulled at him. Adeze could see his fingers twitching, his body checking his strange movements, and then he dived. The water didn't splash. It swallowed him whole, as though the river was waiting for him. Adeze, out of fear, could not breathe. She stumbled back in horror, but she could still hear something dragging through the water. And then, from the water, Obinna appeared, but he was not the same. His eyes were dark, like deep ocean depths, his skin scaly, and his hands were webbed. His mouth was twisted into a grin, revealing sharp fish-like teeth. Adeze, he said in that same distant, underwater voice. Well, now you know the truth. I knew you would follow me down here. She screamed and tried to run, but her feet wouldn't move. Her heart pounded as the river's current seemed to pull her closer. The water gurgled, the sound of deep breathing coming from below. Adeze struggled, but it felt like the earth itself was holding her down. She tried to scream, but the only sound she heard was the rushing water. Obinna stepped closer. I did not want you to know, but now you know the truth and you must join me. The river surged around them. The air grew thick with the smell of salt and seaweed. Please, Adeze gasped, her voice barely a whisper. Why me? Obinna reached out, his fingers cold as ice. You were chosen. You were the one, and you are the one who would free me. That's why I ensured we get connected by love. And with that, the ground beneath her began to tremble. The village elders had always warned that Mirudo was not just water, but a place where spirits lived, ancient ones who had once ruled the land. The Merman had been one of them, caused to return to the water once the last of his kind died. Adeze realized the truth too late. Her marriage had been a trap, a ritual. Obinna was never just a man, he was the spirit of the river, a Merman who had taken her as a vessel to return to power, and now it was too late to escape. Obinna pulled Adeze into the water, the river swallowing them both. The last thing she saw was his glowing eyes and the gleam of his sharp teeth. The water roared, and a deep, ancient voice echoed in the depths. She is one of us now. The river claims what it desires. Months later, the villagers whispered about the strange things happening by the river. They said Adeze had disappeared. Others said they saw her walking with Obinna, while others said her skin is now shimmering under the moonlight. Her hair tangled with seaweed. The river had claimed her, and Obinna found his bride. Thank you for watching my video. Please do not forget to subscribe to my channel in order to get notified when we upload our exciting African Tales videos. Thank you.